Thank you for joining the Performance Management Seminars, where we tackle tough issues in performance management. My name is Victor Holman, and I'm the CEO of Lifecycle Performance Professionals. Last seminar, we discussed the number one reason why performance initiatives fail. And as you remember, that was because of a lack of effective framework. Well, today, we're going to discuss the number two reason why performance initiatives fail, and that is failure to adopt best practices. Today, we're going to discuss the 35 Lifecycle Performance Management best practices. We're going to discuss why best practices are so critical for the success of your organization. We're going to discuss how each of these 35 best practices can maximize the performance of your organization. And we're going to discuss how each one of these best practices opens up opportunities for cost savings. See, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Vic, how can I adopt best practices when there's not a set of comprehensive best practices that are documented out there? Well, that's the problem I faced years ago. While there were IT best practices, and there were HR best practices, and there were finance best practices, there wasn't a comprehensive set of best practices that brings them all together for a complete organizational performance package. Well, that's why I developed Lifecycle Performance Management. And that's why I developed the 35 best practices, to identify best practices that make your organization successful, and then to analyze your organizational strengths and best practices and to leverage them throughout your entire organization. So what is a best practice? By definition, best practices are techniques or methodologies proven through research and through experience to lead to a desired result. Let me repeat that. They are methodologies and they are processes through research and experience that are proven to lead to a desired result. That means that if you were to adopt best practices, then you can expect a positive desired result. And that's the concept of lifecycle performance management. To identify where you're strong in best practices and then to leverage that throughout the weak areas in your organization through standardization or through consolidation. So, what are the 35 lifecycle performance management best practices? The lifecycle performance best practices are a group of performance-related practices and processes sequenced and integrated to effectively leverage strengths and improve performance throughout your people, processes, and systems. Now, there are 35 lifecycle performance management best practices which span across the lifecycle performance framework. The Lifecycle Performance Roadmap maps these best practices to people, processes, and systems, in addition to the Lifecycle Performance Framework phases, to offer a comprehensive understanding of how they fit into your performance management program. This illustration shows the best practices by phase. As you can see, the first three phases, defining, planning, and executing, host the most best practices. Lifecycle Performance Management is careful to ensure that all the critical processes necessary to define, plan, and execute the performance solution are accounted for and addressed based on your organization's specific performance goals and requirements. Now, we'll get into applying, analyzing, and leveraging these best practices throughout your organization when we discuss the organizational performance and best practices analysis in a future seminar. But for now, we want to give you a brief understanding of what each of the best practices are and how they'll bring value to your organization. So let's start with the defining phase. There are 7 best practices associated with the defining phase, and they are organizational goals and mission management, performance scope management, vendor performance management, vendor standardization, organizational stability, and IT cost management. These best practices are often considered preliminary processes and outside of traditional performance management. However, without these critical processes, especially organizational goals and mission management, performance scope management, organizational stability, and cost management, your performance initiative is really set up for failure. Your organization's business objectives and mission are the focal point when implementing or improving a performance management system. Lifecycle performance management processes ensure that your mission is well defined and aligned to your services and key processes. Now, performance scope management They set the high-level processes for how the performance management team will actually approach the divisions, the support teams, and the individuals to begin aligning performance to business objectives. Cost savings are realized as scope management ensures the work required, and only that work required, is completed and helps avoid additional tasks that can quickly add cost. Performance team development focuses on the structure, skills, and success factors for your performance management team, and it ensures that your performance team enable the organization to reach its goals through performance analysis and recommendations for improvement through best practices. Now, the vendor service provider model assesses the viability of vendors against a set of characteristics that have been proven a low-risk, high-quality purchase. An organization that utilizes low-risk as well as high-quality vendors and providers will be less likely to encounter quality, reliability, and supply issues. By standardizing on fewer vendors, an organization can gain purchasing leverage and reduce incompatibility issues. Now, we're going to talk about organizational stability. The stability of an organization is critical to keeping the staff members and teams consistent and focused. It enables the maturation of processes, procedures, and talent. Significant cost savings are realized in a stable organization through employee and customer retention, human capital and knowledge management, and sustained profit improvement through committed employees using proven methods and tools to drive results. And last, IT cost management. Now, this is the financial management of your systems that measures the total cost of IT services on a regular basis. It also compares the cost to industry benchmarks, and it makes decisions based on changes that include financial, not just technical objectives. IT cost management allows you to use best practices found to generate measurable savings in IT labor costs and estimate savings from IT investments and initiatives. Now, let's discuss the planning phase. There are 11 best practices associated with the planning phase, and they are employee acceptance management, performance management planning, time management, leadership development, employee training, staff motivation, automated asset management, system scalability, capacity planning, enterprise policy management, and IS training. Now, the planning phase best practices get your organization prepared for the cultural changes that take place during your successful performance initiative. Employee acceptance management transforms employees into a high-performance mindset. It does this by communicating employee expectations and enabling them to understand the impact that their specific role has on the success of the organization. Cost savings are seen through increased performance of employees, stronger understanding of employees' contributions to organizational objectives, and employee retention due to buy-in. Performance management planning is the practice of defining the performance strategy and prioritizing those activities according to that strategy to ensure operational alignment with organizational goals. Implementing financial measures that drive financial goals can yield considerable cost savings. Planning and time management is essential to the critical path of every project. Cutting corners on planning can triple the cost and time to implement enterprise-level projects, but well-planned projects ensure that spending is minimized while service maintains at a high level. Leadership development. Now, how leadership is demonstrated within your organization determines how successful your organization will be and how successful their employees will become. Leadership development yields cost savings by increasing teamwork, productivity, talent retention, and the quality of individual performance. Employee training is one of the most powerful drivers to reduce cost. Research shows that the undertrained employee consumes 2 to 6 times the amount of support than an adequately trained user. Employee training leads to employee retention through job satisfaction and increased productivity through enhanced skill development. Motivated staff are those that will operate as a team and will pitch in when needed to solve any problem or challenge at hand. They will often exceed expectations and provide critical backup for each other. A motivated staff works harder to meet the goals set by the organization.